Welcome to On the Same Page, the community-wide learning initiative to learn one Amud a week, presented by the Greater Washington Community Kollel. I am Rabbi Hillel Shaps, and I am going to be your virtual chavrusa, your virtual study partner, and it doesn't have to be virtual. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me just respond to the emails from On the Same Page, and I'm happy to discuss any questions related to the Gemara or anything else. We're going to be learning Maseches Taanis. Mazel Tov to all those who stuck with it for all of Maseches Rosh Hashanah and celebrated the completion of that Masechta. Welcome back to all those who learned part or all of Maseches Rosh Hashanah, and welcome to all our new learners for On the Same Page. As I mentioned, we're learning Maseches Taanis. Taanis literally means fasts. We'll see this Masechta, this tractate, deals a lot with various fast days, the ones we're familiar with, other fast days that we're less familiar with, fast days that were made for rain. And we're going to be starting from Daf Beis Amud Aleph, the first, page 2a, which every Masechta starts with on page 2. Just for those who are unfamiliar with the Vilna setup of the Gemara, I hope you can see this. So over here, in the middle is the Gemara. It always begins with the Mishnah, and on the inside column is always the commentary of Rashi, and on the outside column is the commentary of Tosfos. That's the basic arrangement of the Vilna printing of Talmud Bavli, the Babylonian Talmud. And with that, we're ready to begin the tractate, the Masechta. We begin with this big word, Me'emasai, which introduces the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Me'emasai mazkirin gevuros geshamim. From when do we start to mention the gevuros geshamim? Geshamim is rain. Gevuros means the strength of, or the mightiness of the rain. The rain represents God's might. We'll see later in the Gemara where that is derived from. But bringing rain is considered an act of strength, the might of God. And the question is, when are we supposed to mention in our davening the strength of rain, of bringing rain? This refers to what we say, Mashiv haruach l'morid agashim, that God makes the wind blow and causes the rain to fall. So the question is, when are we supposed to insert that line into our tefillah, into our davening? Rabbi Eliezer Omer miyom tov harishon shel chag. Rabbi Eliezer says we start saying Mashiv haruach on the first day of Sukkos, of Chag. Chag always refers to Sukkos. Rabbi Yeshua Omer miyom tov ha'acharon shel chag. Rabbi Yeshua says it's from the last day of Sukkos, which is not really Sukkos, it's Shmini Atzeres. That's when we're supposed to start saying Mashiv haruach Marid Ageshem. Indeed, the practice is we paskin like the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua that we do it at the end of the holiday. Amar lo Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua, who held that we say on Shmini Atzeres, said to Rabbi Eliezer, who held that we should say on the first day, says Rabbi Yeshua, Ho'il ve'eng hageshamim ela simin klala b'chag. Since rain is a simin klala, it's a bad omen. It's a curse of some sort to have rain on Sukkos. Lamahu maskir. Why would we start to mention the God's might of bringing rain at the beginning of Sukkos? We don't want it to rain on Sukkos. We should wait until the end of Sukkos. Rashi explains that what it's referred to, like it's a siman klal, it's a bad omen. So Rashi quotes the Gemara in Sukkah, which says that when it rains in the Sukkah, it's a mashal, it's a parable, as if a person is bringing a cup to serve to his master, and the master pours it back in the water back in his face. And that's similar to us going out into the sukkah. We're trying to serve Hashem, and Hashem makes it rain on us. He pours the water back in our face. So that seems to be a bad thing, a bad omen. And so we don't want it to rain on sukkahs. That shows on some level that God is angry with us. So therefore, Rabbi Yeshua says, we should not be saying Mashiv haruach. We shouldn't be talking about the might of God bringing rain at the beginning of Sukkot. We should wait until the end of Sukkot. Amar lo Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer responded to that question, and he said, Af ani lo amarti lishol elo lahazkir. Mashiv haruach l'morid hageshem be'onaso. Afani lo amarti l'shal. I didn't say to ask for rain at the beginning of Sukkot. We're not talking about requesting rain. Mashi Baruch Mari Dagashem is not a request for rain. Rather, to mention it. To mention that God is great. God is Mashi Baruch. He causes the wind to blow. Umari Dagashem, and he brings the rain. Be'onaso, in its proper time. Meaning we're saying that God brings rain when it's supposed to rain. Even though we don't want it to rain right now, because it's still the beginning of Sukkot. Says Rabbi Eliezer, we mention that God is mighty and brings rain in its proper time. Amar lo, so Rabbi Yeshua responded to that, Im kain le'olam yehei mazkir. If that's the case, that we're just praising God that he brings rain in its proper time, but now is not the proper time, so let us just say it year-round. Let us say it always. We could say it in the middle of the summer, even though in Israel it doesn't rain in the summer. It's not the time of rain. But we're not saying that God's making it rain now. According to you, Rabbi Eliezer, we're just saying that God brings rain in its proper time. And just as the first day of Sukkot is not its proper time, the middle of the summer is not its proper time. So we should say this year-round, according to your understanding, Rabbi Eliezer. So rather, Rabbi Yeshua maintains, no, we don't say it year-round. We don't say it the first day of Sukkot. We only start saying it on Shmini Atzeres, the last day of Sukkot. Okay, now the Gemara shifts to, the Mishnah I should say, shifts to the topic of requesting rain, which is what we say in the bracha of Barech Aleinu in Shemona Esrei, which is when we say, we insert either the same beracha in the summer when it's not raining, we just say God should give blessing, and in the winter we say the same tal umatar livracha, God should give dew and rain for blessing. So there we do mention, there is a request for rain. That's called she'elas geshamim, asking for rain. So the Mishnah says, Ein shoaling es hageshamim ela samoch legeshamim. We only start to ask for rain near the actual time when it's supposed to rain. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda says, Ha'over lifnei hateva b'yom tov ha'acharon shel chag, ha'acharon maskir ha'rishon eino maskir. When do we start saying the same tal umatar? This is referring back to Mashiv Haruach. This is referring back to Mashiv Haruach Mari Dagashem, that God causes the rain, again back to just a praise, not the request. So the Mishnah says, Rabbi Yehuda says, that Ha'over Lifnei HaTeva, the one who goes before the box, the one who leads the davening, so on the last day of Sukkot, which is when you start saying Mashiv Haruach, according to Rabbi Eliezer, and also according to Rabbi Yehuda, apparently. So when do you start saying it? So he says, Ha'acharon maskir, the last guy says it, meaning it's said in Musaf, but a Rishon Eino maskir. But the first one, meaning in Shachris, it's not said. So on Shmini Atzeres, we start to say Mashiv Haruach at Mari Dagashem at Musaf. B'yom tov harishon shel Pesach, and on the first day of Pesach, which is when we stop saying Mashiv Haruach Mari Dagashem. So when do we stop saying it? So it says Harishon Maskir, the first one, meaning Shachris, the morning prayer, we still say it, it's still mentioned at Shachris of the first day of Pesach, but Ha'acharon Eino Maskir, but the last one, the one leading the Musaf, does not say Mashiv Haruach Mari Dagashem. It's not said at Musaf of the first day of Pesach, but it's still said at Shachris. Okay, ready for the Gemara. Says the Gemara, Tana Heicha Kai. Where was this Tana, the author of this Mishnah, holding Dikatani me emasai? That he starts off, the Mishnah launches into a question, when do we start saying Mashiv Haruach Mari Dagashem? Well, where do we find in the first place that we say Mashiv Haruach Mari Dagashem? That you can ask, when do we start saying it? How do I know that we say it in the first place? Where's this Tana holding? Where is he holding that he's asking the question as if it's flowing from, segueing from something? So the Gemara says, Tana Hasam Kai. This author is holding in the Mishnah in Maseches Brachos. Dekatani, the Mishnah there says, Mazkirin Gevuros Keshamim B'tchias HaMesim. It's talking about various insertions into the Shemona Esrei, and it says that we mentioned Gevuros Keshamim, the God's might in bringing rain. This Mashiv Haruach Mari Dagashem in the bracha of Tchias HaMesim, of the resurrection of the dead, which is the second bracha of Shemona Esrei, Mechayei Mesim, God brings the dead back to life, speaks about the resurrection. That's where we mention the, that's where we mention the Mashiv Ruach Amari Dagesh. And that's the Mishnah in Brachos. Now the Mishnah goes on, it's not as relevant to us, but it quotes it, V'sha'alen v'birkas hashanim, and we request rain in the bracha of Birkas Hashanim, and the blessing of the year, that there should be sustenance in the year, Barech Aleinu. V'havdalah b'chonin adas. And on Matzei Shabbos, on Saturday night, when we insert Havdalah into the Shemona Esrei, that's in Chonin Adas, the blessing of knowledge and understanding. That's the Mishnah. But the Mishnah there says that we say Mashiv Ruach Morid Geshem in the second bracha of Tchias HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead, Mechayei Mesim. So on that explains the Gemara, Ukatami, and our Mishnah says on that, Me'emasai Mazkirin Gebrus Geshamim. When do we say it? What time of the year do we say it? I know that we say it in the second bracha from Mishnah and Brachos, and building off of that, our Mishnah in Taanis asks, from when do we start saying it? What time of the year? Ask the Gemara of Elisni Hasam. So Leah asked that question over there. B'seches Brachos is at the beginning of Seder Zerayim, the first section of the Mishnah. B'seches Taanis is in the middle of Moed, the second section. So if this question was segueing from there, so it actually should have appeared way back in B'seches Brachos. Why did it wait until here to ask the question? So it seems it's not related to what it mentioned in Brachos. Otherwise, it should have. If the author of the Mishnah thought of that question then, it should have asked that question then. Ela Tana me Rosh Hashanah Salek. So rather, this Tana is coming off of Meseches Rosh Hashanah, and so are we on the same page, because there's something in Meseches Rosh Hashanah which is relevant to this question. Rosh Hashanah is in Seder Moed. It's in the same section of the Mishnah. So it's relevant, it's pertinent, and close. And so we can ask this question. Rosh Hashanah Salek, it's coming from Meseches Rosh Hashanah Zitnan, and it says in a Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah, Uvechag nidonin ala mayim. It says in Rosh Hashanah, it talks about different times of the year that we're judged for different things, and it says there that on Sukkot we're judged for water. So it's talking about rain and water, how much rain we're going to receive, and that's done on Sukkot. And coming off of that, it says there that on Sukkot we're judged for water. Tana, so here in Meseches Taanis, coming off of Meseches Rosh Hashanah, it says Me'emasai Maskirin Gebrus Geshamim. They ask the question, when do we start saying it? So I guess we already know there's a relationship to Sukkot because it's on Sukkot that we're judged for water. But when do we start to praise Hashem for His might in bringing rain? Is it at the beginning of Sukkot? Is it at the end of Sukkot? That's the question of our Mishnah, coming off of the Mishnah that's also in Seder Moed, also in this section of the Mishnah of Rosh Hashanah, where it said that we're judged for water on Sukkot. So ask the Gemara, V'listni me'emasai mazkirin al hageshamim. The Gemara asks, why doesn't it just say in the Mishnah, from when do we mention the rain? Why is it called Givuros Geshamim, the might of bringing rain? Why not just ask, when do we mention the rain? When do we praise Hashem for rain? What's this idea of referring to it as the Givuros Geshamim, the might of bringing rain? So Rabbi Yochanan said, Mipnei sheyardin b'gvura, because it rains with might. God is using that characteristic, that trait of gevura when He brings rain. How do we see that? So we learn it out from a pasuk, Shenemar, or a series of psukim, because the pasuk says, pasuk is in Eov. It says, Oseh gedolos v'ein cheker. He does great things and there's no investigating it. V'niflos adei misparim, wonders too numerous to count. Uksiv, and immediately following that, it says, Hanosing matar al pnei eretz. He gives rain on the face of the earth. V'shalech mayim al pnei chutzos, and sends water out to the outside. So here we have two psukim. The second one talks about it raining, and in the first one it calls it something that's ein cheker. It's a great deed that there's no investigating. So we'll have to keep that in mind for a moment. So the Gemara asks, "My mashma." How does that imply gevura? We didn't even see the word gevura, might, in these two verses at all. So Amar Rabba Bar Shila. So Rabba Bar Shila said, "Asya cheker mibriyaso shel olam." We learn a gezerah shava. We compare the same. We have the same word twice, and we seemingly have a tradition that you should relate these two words in this context. And where do we find it elsewhere? It's by the creation of the world. We have the word cheker, investigation, also with regards to the creation of the world. Ksiv hacha, here, with regards to the rain, it says, Ose gedolos ad ein cheker, that Hashem does great acts ad ein cheker that you can't even investigate, you can't understand. Uksiv hasam, and it says there, regarding the creation of the world, and this is a pasuk in Yeshaya, in the book of Isaiah, it says there, it says, Halo yadata, you surely know, imlo shamata, have you not heard, Elokei olam Hashem, God is the master is the God of the world. Borei kitso saaretz, He creates the edges of the world, the whole world. Lo yoif v'lo yaga. He doesn't get tired. Ein cheker v'srunasa. And that pasuk, that verse concludes, and there's no investigating his understanding. So we have a verse here referring to, we have a verse here referring to God creating the world. It says, Borei kitsos haaretz. He created all the edges, all the limits of the world. He created the world. And it says, Ein cheker v'svunaso, and there's no cheker, there's no investigating, there's no understanding God's knowledge. So with regards to the creation of the world, we have the word cheker. With regards to bringing rain, we have the word cheker. And we learn something from the creation of the world to the bringing of rain. Now what do we learn? We need one more pasuk, uksiv, and it says in Tehillim, it says, Mechin harim b'kocho, He prepared mountains with His strength. He created the mountains. Nezar b'gvura, girded in might. So here in the context of creating the mountains, it says Hashem is girded in might. So the act of creating mountains, of creating the world, is an act of gevura, is an act of might. And the word cheker teaches us to compare the act of creation of the world to the act of bringing rain. So just as creating the world is an act of gevura, of might, so too the act of bringing rain is also an act of gevura, an act of might. Okay, ask the Gemara. We're still in the thinner lines. We're 3 lines up in the thin lines. The last word on the line. It says uminalan dibetfila. How do we know that we're supposed to mention Hashem bringing rain somewhere in davening? Where do we get that from? How do we know we're supposed to mention this in tefillah? So the Tanya, we have a brisa. The brisa says, a brisa is a teaching also from the times of the Mishnah of the Tanaim. Great authority. It says, "Le'ahavas Hashem Elokeichem u'la'avdo b'chol levavchem." This comes from Kriya Shema, in the second paragraph of Shema, Ve'ayayim Shama'a. It's in Parshas Ekev, and it says there, and it will be if you listen to Hashem, etc. Ve'ahavas Hashem Elokeichem, to love Hashem your God, u'la'avdo b'chol levavchem, and to serve Him with all of your heart. To serve Him with all of your heart. Now, what does serving Hashem with your heart mean? Ask the Gemara, Eizo hi avoda she'i b'leiv. What service do we give to Hashem from the heart? Havei Omer zu tefillah. That's tefillah. Prayer. Prayer is a service of Hashem from the heart. Uksiv basra, in the very next verse in this paragraph says, V'nosati mitar artzachem be'ito, and I will give you mitar artzachem, the rain of your land, its proper time. Yoreo malkosh, the different rains, the early rain, the later rains. I'll give you the rain in its proper time. So there's a connection here between la'avda b'chol levavchem, serve Hashem with all your heart, and I will give you rain. And we know that serving Hashem with your heart is tefillah. And there's a correlation between tefillah and giving rain. So it seems appropriate that we should, including our tefillah, a mention of how Hashem gives rain. Amar Rabbi Yochanan said, Gimel maftechos biyado shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu shelo nimsru biyad shliach. There are 3 keys in the hand of Hashem that He hasn't given over to a messenger. So Hashem creates a system, a world, where there's angels, malachim, and different spiritual beings that act as messengers of Hashem to keep the world running. But there's 3 things, says the Gemara, that Hashem keeps for Himself, doesn't do at the hands of a messenger. Ve'elohin, and these are them. Mafteach shel gishamim, the key of bringing rain. Umafteach shel chaya, and the key of life. Umafteach shel tchias hamesim, and the key of resurrecting the dead. Mafteach shel gishamim, where do we see each of these things? So we find that Hashem keeps the key, doesn't do this through a messenger, He keeps the key to rain for Himself, and Hashem directly provides rain, Dechsiv, because the pasuk says, this is a pasuk in Devarim, it says, Yiftach Hashem l'chas otzaro atov, Hashem will open for you His storehouse of good, Es hashamayim, the heavens, L'seis mitar artzacha be'ito, to give rain on the land in its proper time. But it says that Hashem will open it up. Hashem will open it up. So we see that Hashem holds the key to opening up the rain, and does it Himself. Secondly, we have Mafteach shel chaya, the key of life, of birth. Dichsiv, as it says, Vayizkar Elokim es Rachel. With regards to Rachel, the wife of Yaakov, it says, and Hashem remembered Rachel, Vayishma, and He listened. We're now turning the page to the top of the next page, the base on the base. Vayishma eleha Elokim, and Hashem listened to her. Vayiftach es rachma, He opened her womb. She had been barren, unable to give birth, and Hashem opened up her womb and made it able to give birth. That's the key. Hashem holds the key to giving birth. And thirdly, Mafteach shel tchias hamesim, Hashem holds the key of resurrecting the dead. Minayin, from where do we know this? Dichsiv, because the pasuk says, pasuk is in Yechezkel, it says, V'yidatem ki ani Hashem, and you will know that I am Hashem, b'pischiyes kivroseichem, when I open up your graves and resurrect the dead. So Hashem opens the graves, Hashem resurrects the dead Himself. He doesn't give that over to a messenger, He holds the key Himself. B'ma'arava amri, in the west, they say, that refers to Eretz Yisrael, this is the Talmud of Bavel. The west is in Israel. In Israel, they say, Af mafteach shel parnasa, like Hashem also holds the key to livelihood, to sustenance. Dichsiv, because it says in Ashrei, it says, Poseach es yadecha, open up your hand, umaspia l'chol chai ratzon, and satisfy every living being with what they need. So there also Hashem is Poseach, Hashem opens, Hashem keeps the key for Himself to open up the door to sustenance. Rabbi Yochanan, my time aloka chashiv. Asked the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan said there are 3. He didn't include sustenance. He included rain. He included birth, life, and the resurrection of the dead. But he didn't have this in his list, parnasa, sustenance, livelihood. Why not? So the Gemara explains, Amar Lecha, Rabbi Yochanan will tell you, Gishamim hainu parnasa. Because rain is parnasa. Rain is sustenance. Where does our sustenance come from? It comes from rain. That's how we have food. We have food because Hashem provides rain. And therefore, it's already included when He said that Hashem holds the key to rain. That includes that Hashem holds the key to parnasa, to livelihood. We will hold it here for this week. And I hope you'll join us again next week as we continue the Gemara. Have a wonderful week.